What's up, everyone? So today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. It's Christmas Day and I don't have much to do, so I decided I was gonna make a video. A lot of people are afraid to actually purchase one of these because of the setup. And when I first got one, I honestly didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to restring it. I've looked up hundreds and hundreds of videos and I just couldn't fucking figure it out. No matter what I fucking did, this motherfucker right here would not work. It would not set properly. I couldn't tune it because every time I adjust one string, the other strings would all go out. Whether it be a flat string or a fucking sharp string, like it was just back and forth. It was like a roller coaster. So I'm gonna show you how I've learned to deal with that because there's a little process. Let me run you through what I do, and maybe this will work for you. Hopefully it will, and hopefully you'll consider buying a guitar with a Floyd Rose, because they're great. Whenever I set it, it stays in tune. I can dive on this thing as much as I want, and nothing happens to it. It's still in tune. So I think the setup is very important, and it's very important to understand how to set it up quickly. So let's get to it. So, you're gonna need a few tools for this, and these two are essential. This isn't. You don't really need this. So we'll just start with this. It's something that you don't really need, but it's gonna make it a lot quicker, and it's just something that goes around your tuning pegs, and it basically you can just wind it. You're not sitting there twisting and twisting, and it takes forever. You can just wind. So I highly recommend one of these. You got to get some of these. These are side cutters, and me personally, I don't like having these long 6-inch string ends popping out of my tuning peg. I just don't like the way it looks. So yeah, get some of these. Be able to cut the string. And then this guy right here. So this is a number 2 Phillips screwdriver, and you need this because you actually have springs on the back of your guitar. Let me take this off because this guy's always falling off. And so right here, you got springs. Obviously, I got 4 of them, and I have this little this little thing back here just to kind of dampen them because they make sounds sometimes, and it just dampens them whenever the bridge moves. Anyway, here are the screws right here holding on this plate. It's like a little claw, and so you want to get a number 2 screwdriver, because if you use a number 1, you're probably going to strip these screws out. Then you're gonna want to get yourself, you should already have one of these. I really don't know what size this is. They typically come with the guitars. No idea. Get yourself an Allen wrench that fits these screws back here, right on the neck. Make sure you get an Allen wrench that can fit this, because you're gonna have to take these guys off, because these are your locks. These are your string locks. And so what you want to do is make sure it fits snug, make sure it's the right size, because you don't want to strip these out. Once you strip those out, they're useless. Last but not least, strings. You need strings, because obviously without these, you ain't getting far. So I like to use the hybrid slinkies. They're 9 through 46. It's just what I use. I tune to E standard all the time. You don't need this. I just do it every time, so I figured I'd run you through it because I'm actually restringing this. It's not like a fake restring, so yeah, so let's get started. First thing you want to do, get your Allen wrench and undo these string locks. And you just gotta loosen them up until you can actually take them off with your fingers. You don't gotta be spinning this all day. Take off your string locks. Now, let's go. Set them to the side. Now that we got the strings unlocked, we are going to take them out of this area. And one thing that I didn't mention to you is You also have little screws back here that you're going to need this same Allen wrench for, because up here you also have locks, and these locks over here basically just lock the string into the bridge. So back here you have, like I said, you have screws, but we don't want to just start unscrewing these because your string still has tension. We got to get rid of that tension. So what we're going to do is I typically kind of just like hold this guy down as far as I can. See how it created slack? I want them to kind of be like that when there's no pressure on this bar whatsoever. So that being said, I'm just gonna loosen them. Kind of see where you are. Be happy with that. So now we can actually get back here. See how there's absolutely like, there's really no tension. It's just slack. That's how you want it. Just so you don't get smacked in the face by your strings when you undo these little screws back here. And you don't gotta pull them all the way out. I've seen people actually back these screws up all the way, and there's really no need. Now we could just unwrap the strings. Here's this stuff. Now we're finally going to apply this. So, and again, it's just lemon oil. I don't think I mentioned that, but it's just lemon oil. It's not some crazy thing. It's made for wood. It's something that I've been using for a long time. I'm only going to put a little bit. You don't need to like drench the paper towel. So just like a little dot. So really get this stuff rubbed in. Right, so 1 minute has passed. So now, the same way we applied it, we're going to wipe it off. You can kind of see like all the residue and stuff. It's obviously pretty gross. We have to get this bridge to float somehow. We have to tighten these down while this string is inserted into this lock. The way I do it, super easy. Get your hand, hold the actual whammy bar down, allowing the bridge to float, and you're going to insert this string into the lock just to hold it in place so you can use your other hand to actually tighten down this screw. Now you don't want to tighten it down too hard, too much, because you can strip this screw and you're in a whole bunch of trouble there. So that is in. I like to bend it just a little bit. I mean, kind of form it. And now we are ready to do the exact same thing to the second string. And I'm always, I don't know why, but I go from my low strings to my high strings. That's just how I've always done it. It just seems to be easier for me instead of just like taking random strings and stringing it up or whatever. It's the same process. Hold that whammy bar down, insert the string, and lock it down. Okay, got all of the strings in, so this portion is done. Now we get to move on to this side. So what I like to do when I'm working on this side is I like to brace this. I just like to hold it up maybe about that high. And so for that, I'm just going to stick this underneath it. It really doesn't matter. It could be anything. And so now I'm going to start cutting these ends off. All of these ends, all these balls I want to get rid of. I don't want to use them. I have no use for them. Now, once again, we're going to start with a low E. And we're going to string it through. I want to see about 3 inches underneath this string. That way I don't overwrap, because if you overwrap, that's another thing, you can potentially damage your tuning pegs. So now I can start spinning. I'm just going to hold it in place. I'm constantly applying pressure, I'm constantly pulling. And that's also going to help stretch these strings out, so when it's finally done and you're tuning, your guitar isn't going to constantly fucking go out of tune because the strings aren't completely stretched. And the goal here is to see at least 2 or 3 rings. So basically, you want your string to go around at least 2 to 3 times. Now you can use these to cut this guy. Cut it as flush as you can get it. And so this guy's done. Now we just move on, do the same exact thing. Okay, that is the last string. So now what I like to do, before going any further, so now that that's all done, the next thing I do is I'll go through each and every string and kind of stretch them out as much as I can. They're not tuned in any way, they're just, they have a little bit of tension, but not much. I like to go through them and I'll kind of grab the string like this. Thumbs in the center, and kind of push down. Really, really stretch each section of this string. And this just makes it so much easier to tune it and for it to hold the tuning. Every time you restring a guitar, whether it be something with a Floyd Rose or something without a Floyd Rose, your strings are still going to have to stretch. Okay, well, you are pretty much ready to tune now. We are ready to tune. There's really no tension on the string, so we're basically starting at scratch. So what we want to do, I'm plugged into my tuner, as you can see, and we're going to start with a low E string. We want to see where we are. Ooh, way off. So I'm going to tune this all the way up to E. I'm going to tune to E standard, but I like to tune past, almost to where it's turning into the F. Now go down to your A, tune all the way up to A, tune it really sharp. There you go. Or B flat, fine. Now go to your D, tune it up, same thing, really sharp. Now your G, same idea. Now you're gonna go to your B. You do this with all the strings. Tune it sharp. Your E string, you're gonna stop it at E. It can be a little sharp, but you don't want to make it crazy sharp. About right there. And notice how your tuning just dropped. So what was E crazy sharp, F whatever, is now D flat. So you're gonna tune it back up to E. You can make that E kind of sharp. Go to your A. Same thing. D. Same thing. G. Same thing. B. Same thing. E. You're gonna stop it about right there. Now you're bringing your tuning up. That's because your springs are finally kind of adjusting. You want to get this guy right here. It's your Floyd Rose, their bridge. You want that to be as straight as you can get it. You want it basically to be level with your guitar. And so we still have to go up, we're still down. So what we are gonna do, this is where it changes. So those two first pass-throughs of tuning were just to get this bridge slightly adjusted. Without doing that, you're gonna be fighting your bridge all the way, and this is what people don't tell you. Now, we are ready to start tuning accurately. We're gonna tune up to E, sharpen it out just a little bit. A, same thing. Now go back to E, you dropped. Go back up. That's a little too high. Sharpen it just a little bit. I don't know why I keep saying sharpen it. Make that E slightly sharp. A is where it was. Now D, it's going to be D sharp just slightly. Go to G. Right about there. Now back to E. See how it keeps dropping back down? We have to play with it. So we're constantly going back and forth. Same thing. E sharp. It's going to be a little sharp. D sharp. G sharp. B is going to be low, so we're going to have to bring that up. About right there. The higher strings, like the E and B string, you don't really have to make them too sharp in order for them to adjust back into place. Say about that first line, right there. Now your E is almost there. Slightly sharp. Go back to check. And now, G. To be kind of sharp actually. B, it's already sharp. E is already sharp. So we leave those there. And now your E is pretty good. Your A is kind of sharp. Your D is kind of sharp. Here's the trick. Now you're completely level. Look at that. I don't know if you can see. I play with super low action. But I mean, your bridge isn't really dipping. We are ready to lock these guys in place. And I see a lot of people that'll actually tune their guitars like on the table, like flat like this. Do not do that. You want your guitar to be tuned to the position that you're playing in. Now when I move the guitar, look what happens. See that? Ain't that crazy? That's why you tune in playing position. And so now I'm gonna lock these. And this is gonna change the tuning as well. Don't lock them too tight. Lock them enough to where they're grabbing. It's nice and snug. So about right there. Right there. We are ready to actually tune. Look at that. They're already kind of like in place. Few high. Instead of tuning, because it's barely, I'm barely sharp. See that? How it's barely sharp? Just go like this. Barely dip that Floyd Rose. Because it's still setting. Look at that. Of course, this G string's always just a pain. B and E. And we're fully tuned. Now with every guitar, you are gonna find out real quickly that your strings are not gonna stay in tune. It doesn't matter what kind of guitar you are using, whether it has a Floyd Rose or not, your strings are still gonna be stretching. So what I typically do is after I tune it up, I will either play it really hard or I will just go through every string and just bend, get those strings stretched. But see what we did in the beginning? See that? That is why I pre-stretched the strings. Because we're still pretty much in tune, which is pretty crazy. And you can play with the whammy bar a little bit to stretch the strings out. That's pretty much it. I know it's a process, but when it's set and everything is done, you will not have to retune your guitar for a long time. I've went months without tuning my guitar, and I record every day. So like I record to piano tracks and like just MIDI stuff. And so every time I use like a MIDI instrument, those tones are on spot. And if my guitar doesn't match up, like I know it. I have to retune. I want to see how well this is going to stay in tune after my setup. So we are going to play with the Floyd Rose for a little while. Let's hit that whammy bar. Completely. Sounds good to me. Follow that setup, follow that process, and you will be good.